Beacon Morning, the most news in the morning, period. Weekdays 6 Eastern.
One expert said it could be among the hardest recoveries since the search to find the Titanic, which took decades. This morning, an armada of ships is converging on an area about 400 miles northeast of the Brazilian island of Fernando de Noronha. Some are carrying submersibles that can work miles underwater, all to start piecing together the disaster of Air France Flight 447. Our next guest knows an awful lot about these kinds of operations. John Perry Fish joins me now from our Boston bureau this morning. John, it's great to see you. So what will searchers be looking for at this point in their operation, and what kind of topography of the ocean floor are they going to be searching in?
Good morning, John. The searchers are going to be looking for a very important piece of equipment called a digital flight data recorder, which is an example of one is here.
Just hold it up a little higher if you could there.
Sure.
Go ahead.
These record many parameters of the flight, the aircraft, its attitude, even the amount of force that one of the pilots might put on a pedal. And it's very important to find these in order to find out what happened to the flight. Attached to each of these data recorders is what we call a pinger. It puts out an acoustic pulse once a second for 30 days as soon as it's submerged in the water, and these contacts are joined by electrical forces. So it's important to find these, and they'll be looking for these in an area that's fairly deep, as deep as a couple of miles, and also part of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is a mountainous area that runs all the way from Iceland down into the South Atlantic.
Some people have described it as trying to look for a flight data recorder in either the Rocky Mountains or the Grand Canyon.
That would be right. And these are very small instruments, and sonar used to image the topography may not be able to see that, but the pinger that's attached to it might be the key to finding it.
So how will they be looking for the pinger? I know that the Navy is flying one of those Orion P-3 surveillance planes over the area. They've got some submersibles in the water. Will they all have their ears tuned to the frequency of this transponder?
The aircraft won't, but anything that's submerged underwater that could sense the acoustic pulses, they will have receivers that are tuned to this frequency of this pinger.
Now, you're an expert in side-scan sonar, and many people will be familiar with that. That's the way that they located John F. Kennedy's plane off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. It's also the way that much of the wreckage of TWA Flight 800 was found off the coast of Long Island. In the type of ocean bottom that you're talking about, and you're an expert in this particular field, is side-scan sonar very effective?
Well, it's difficult if there's a lot of geology in the area, but side-scan is probably the best tool to try and locate the debris field of a downed aircraft.
Now, we talked just a second ago about John F. Kennedy's plane, TWA 800, Egypt Air 900. They were all found in relatively shallow waters. I guess the wreckage of the Challenger space shuttle was found in about 1,000 feet of water. But we're talking about, as you said, a couple of miles of water here, 12 to maybe even 15,000 feet. Is it possible to find anything at that depth and with those crushing pressures, too, which by some estimations would be 7,000 pounds per square inch?
Yeah, that's correct. The pressure is high, but instruments are produced, designed and developed, and we currently use them that work at those depths. One of the problems is getting the instrumentation down that deep requires long tow cables, and it's very time consuming. So the fact that it's deep water may increase the time that it takes to locate the debris.
Now, we mentioned just a few minutes ago the French authorities were pessimistic about finding anything. I mentioned that in 1987, the cockpit voice recorder from a South African Airways plane that went down off the coast of Mauritius was found in 16,000 feet of water. So, I mean, if you were a betting man and, based on your expertise, would you think that they would find anything from the aircraft?
I do. I think it's possible to find it. It's just going to take a little bit longer and require a greater effort working in this deep water. The South African Airways debris was located, and Air India back, I believe, in the 70s was located in very deep water in the North Atlantic. So I believe that it can be found. It just will take a little longer.